And we are back. That's so excellent. When you were developing the three-way, there has to have been this moment where you were like, "Holy shit, we got it!" Like you know what I mean? Where it kind
Yeah,
of like,
there was actually, yeah, because we had three different lines. Like, yeah, I still got about 4,000 of them in my basement that I can't sell, but I haven't been able to throw them in the garbage yet. But because my original idea for it, I really wanted to be able to, you know how some beads they're the glue's built into the thing, you just wet it, throw it on. I was
"Yep,
hoping to do that with the three-way, but there's too much dust involved and things, so we just weren't able to do that. And the original paper I tried didn't work out either. So finding the right paper was pretty tricky. I was really glad to solve that problem. So yeah, there's been three different stages so far of that, and there's a few more to come we have in mind, but that's a little bit down the road. But yeah, the paper was a tough one because the tape, paper tape itself, you can't get that product. You you can't get that.
no,
They've got that
I
filled up.
imagine that's under lock and key pretty good."
Yeah, it is. It is. So we had to have our own formula created that would work because it's not just any paper that you can just wet and it's all good.
Hmm.
Originally, I was trying to use which you would think I thought that if I used what they used for watercolor painting, that
Oh
that would
yeah.
be that would be the right kind of paper to use, but it would ripple because it
Oh,
water and swells. And I always figured, maybe if once I get harder paper on the back, the right paper on the back, it'll solve that problem. So that's when we made our first batch out of that type of paper. I said, well, that's the type of paper we need to be using. Turned
right.
out, no, that's not the right kind of. So, so yeah, so there was a few guys who had that three-way sent out to them, and that wasn't working that great. You were getting these ripply edges, so the first few batch of guys we were trying to introduce the product to, we kind of misfired on that one because you're getting these ripply edges and it's like, what the hell. But so now the new one, yeah, it's just beautiful. When I finally installed that one, it was like, oh man, we finally have it. It's great. Yeah.
I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall for that. Like, this is it. This is the
Yeah.
one. Yeah.
I have some of those old ones. I could actually throw some at you. You could see how.
I would honestly, I would love some. I eventually, I'm gonna have like an office or some space,
Yeah.
and like I've got a skateboard. I've got Ice Rock's gonna send me. He's been a part of all the fiberfuse stuff from the beginning, so he's
Yeah.
got all the different like just rolls of this shit in his garage. He's gonna make me a little plaque with them. I got a bottle of wine for Manny's podcast, so I think that would be
Oh yeah.
so great, just like a trinket on the shelf. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. I'll bring you some. I'll remember to bring you some on Friday.
Oh, that'll be
That
great.
that fiber fuse is sure an awesome product. I use a lot of the 4 foot stuff.
Yep.
The rolls. I think it's 3 or 4 feet. I think it's maybe 4 feet wide.
Yep.
Yeah, I use a lot of those rolls. That is the best product ever for dealing with cracked old plaster cracks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. If you
that's
back
awesome.
butter it and if you back butter it, get it on there. It is tough as nails
Yeah,
when it's covering stuff. You know what he does? He cuts down those whatever they are, 4 feet or 36 inch into 8 inch rolls.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
You know when you got a bevel and then there's like a fucking outlet or something right
yeah,
where the bevel is, he
yeah.
just fiber fuses right over it.
Good idea.
He puts a hole,
Yeah,
runs the next box, puts a hole, and then
yeah,
once
yeah.
everything's done, he cuts
It's
it
all
out.
nice and
And
level and everything, and then you can just cut it up. I actually used to use paper tape that was right by the bead. I would
mhm,
tape off the light fixture and then continually poke a hole in it after I coated it so I could make the bead nice and level and not
yeah,
fill the damn box up. But yeah, a piece of fiber fuse would even be better for that. It'd be awesome.
yeah.
I find how sometimes you get in bathrooms where they've taken off the tile and your board's just a mess. It's all
Oh,
you're back to paper peeling and all that kind of stuff. I found you trowel on a coat them out of that back and forth, so you get some of it under the loose paper and stuff, but put a whole piece of, sheet of fiber fuse over that.
Yeah.
and travel through, it takes care of that problem. And fiberfuse also helps to level out the wall. If you got some bad
Yeah.
dips, it will help straighten the whole thing out. So yeah, it's an amazing product for
Yeah.
sure.
I love it.
Yeah.
What all of my flats and butts are all fiber fuse. Now it kicks up a lot of the fibers, so I'll wear a mask when I'm running the auto taper, but
Yeah.
I love them. The other thing he's got me doing is, where you V out your butt joints.
Yeah.
Yeah, I give it a quick spray with that glue. It makes the like
Bonding
the
better. Yeah.
it does, yeah,
Yeah.
because you're not bonding to the gibrock. You're bonding to the paper, right? So when there's no paper there, I've had a couple of times where my butts have cracked and I couldn't figure out
That makes
why.
sense. That makes sense. Because
Hmm.
yeah, because you never get rid of that complete dust layer.
Yeah.
Yeah, is what's going on. Yeah, it's like when you're dealing with plaster or something like that too. If you wet it down a couple of times really good, and then pump a hardener into it, it actually bonds with it. But
Okay.
you got to wet it, because if you don't wet it, then it's always going to crack. It's going to be vulnerable to cracking because of that dust layer. But I take a water bottle, squirt, 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 the gouged out crack. I do
Yeah.
it a couple of times to make sure it's pretty good and wet, and then you put a hardener in there. I found I don't even have to put a tape on top of it; it just bonds right in.
No shit. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, wet it first. Yeah. I imagine the same thing with a butt joint. If you're having that problem, is if you squirted some water in there, now it's wet. Now it will, osmosis with the material into the you know
Yeah,
it bond it
it
right together.
yeah. See, that's so neat. It's these conversations that I love this for because I never would have thought about doing that. Um, what do you got in your pack? Like, what are you using? Are you doing hawk and trowel? You got boxes?
Well, for what I do, I don't do enough taping that I use boxes. And sometimes I'm doing really high end custom houses, like
Hmm.
temporary homes or whatever. So with those, I prefer to actually hawk and trawl the whole thing.
Yeah.
'Cause, there's a box is prone, like you can run boxes. They're great for most houses, subdivision, all that stuff. And uh, and if you to make a nice flat, you got to follow your box with a hot control.
Yeah.
Anyhow, so for those houses, because that quality it has to be so much higher. Using a hot control, I find you don't run that straight line that can show up,
Yep.
afterwards so easily, So I hot control most of my stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm now that I'm seeing that chase behind the box, and we've come into a couple of funny butts and funny when people fucking reef those boards up and then screw
Yeah.
them and they've destroyed the bevel,
Yeah.
things like that. Yeah, with the extra time you're putting in, you might as well be doing it all with the hawk and trowel. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, with butts, and this is butt joints, the majority of my butt joints I can literally do in one coat.
Okay.
And most people, like a lot of guys, you're going to see the butt joint is built up to the center, so it's
Yes.
humped up. So I always load a butt joint, either like two widths of a trowel at least, and I'm using 16-inch trowel or whatever on those things.
Yeah.
But if you come up through the center of your butt so that center is always flat, then you see on your edges how much mud is required to level it out. And you smooth out, like level it out from the sides, not into the center. So you're
Right.
not rounding it up. So the face of it is always flat. And then you smooth it out from there. And when you get good enough at it, I sand out those butts and they're good. Most of them are good.
That was the biggest game changer for me. I started running the 10-inch box wide open on either side. And
Yeah.
it's kind of like what you're saying is you're making those mounds. You don't even touch the tape. And
Yeah.
then on the next one, you make everything flat. So
Yeah.
the flat between and then flat off to the sides. And it works really well. Yeah, obviously need more time with it.
Yeah.
But it's a good
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah.
What about Can-Am? Have you done much using their
Well,
stuff?
I use Can-Am tools for my angles like all the time. Their,
Yeah.
their stuff is so smooth. Like they have the best angle equipment, you can get. Um, it's not a bazooka or super taper. You're still using a dry tape to throw them by hand, but you can do that quite quick. But I use them a lot in the ceiling removal I do, because
Okay.
I want the sharpest, fine edges you can get all the way around the
Right.
edge. Because when you've scraped off the popcorn, you always got really rough corners and stuff, and you can spend a lot of time fussing with that to get that back to a nice sharp angle. So when you cut it in, it's like laser sharp.
Right.
So we've started just, and I use the Can-Am tools for that because they're so smooth. Their fleshers are awesome, and I tube the mud in there and then flesh that out with the Can-Am system, and to create that edge all the way around. So I mean, I can do a whole floor of your average home in an hour. The whole thing is done. I can spend more than an hour fussing in that angle to get it right without it.
Right.
So, and then I'm being that I was a painter before I was ever a taper. I still always paint. So it still only takes me like an hour to go around and recut the whole. I just tell them up front to get your wall paint cover, paint whatever it was for me, and I'm cutting all that
Yeah.
recutting, so you have nice sharp all the way around. So yeah, I know, I love the Can-Am tools. They're awesome, and I was surprised that their plastic flesher heads were guaranteed for life. I was like, what the heck?
Yeah. I was shocked.
Yeah, and they're so well thought out. Like you can stick a broom handle on that, like for a do-it-yourself or whatever.
Yeah, those basic
Yeah,
Nightcore kits, just like what you're saying, like to if you go back to somebody that's still using like a 4-inch knife because they tape 3 times a year, I don't know what those Nightcore sets cost, but that is a game changer if you're
yeah,
trying to get nice clean angles.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're great. That I've thought about that over the years many times myself. Like, you need a plastic flesher head. Like,
Yeah.
you're paying like $100 to $500 depending on what you're getting for a flesher. Like, why not go with a plastic one for people that are do-it-yourselfers more and aren't using it as much? And so, but that one works even for a professional taper because it's lifetime kind of guarantee. But when I thought about it, I was always wondering, how am I going to get the flex? How would you design it to
Hmm.
get the flex in the blade? And then when I saw that rippled plastic along the edge of theirs on the back of it,
Yep.
just ingenious how that works. I remember the first time I met Wolfgang, I didn't realize he was actually the engineer and kind of owner, I think, of Can-Am.
Yep.
So I was just, talking to him about it, just because he was there, and explaining to him what my idea was and telling him, yeah, whoever came up with this ripple thing here is this genius idea. It's just fucking awesome.
He just puts his hand up. Yeah.
Yeah, he just says, yeah, whatever. He didn't like, yeah, he didn't start going off about it or
He's
whatever. I
very
still,
humble. He's a very
yeah,
humble human being. Yeah.
someone else who told me, yeah, that's the guy. He's the engineer. He's the guy who made that thing and stuff. So
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's that I don't like getting into other people's business or what it is, but like I really enjoy like for instance, Can-Am or even Bernie to that extent, where I understand the product, I understand the brand, but I have no idea who's behind it. Bernie walked up to me at the Fresco event and he was like, "Oh, hey, hey, how you doing?" And I was like, "Yeah, whatever." And we had a quick little back and forth, and then I went to do some Fresco. Well, one of the guys that I was there with kind of nudged me. He's like, "Do you have any idea who that is?" And I was like, "No." And he goes, "That is Bernie." I went, "Holy shit!" I would have maybe said hello a little bit firmer if I had known. Wolfgang was the same thing.
yeah,
I think it was Kirsty that kind of
yeah,
grabbed me and was like, "You got to come and meet this guy."
yeah,
And we're saying hello back and forth, and then it all kind of clicks to who he is, and you're like, there's just no ego at all that comes along with him. He's just
yeah.
so humble.
Yeah. Well, they sent me their professional kit of angle tools. That was one of the best gifts I ever got.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, that was awesome. Yeah, I use that all the time now. It was
Th-
a nice kit.
they'll be put to good use. Yeah, the thing I like about that kit is everything comes apart. Even the handles, the tube, it all comes apart super easy if you wanted to clean it. Um, and that,
I was just using it today with one of my sons,
yeah,
Steve. He's going to be at the event there, and he was using it. I was showing him, for using it for putting the mud in, and he was pretty surprised at how smooth that mud applicator work compared to what he's using, because he's
Hmm.
got a lot of force trying to get his mud up there. He's pushing pretty hard to get it out, and the smoothness of that. I'm not sure what's engineered in there because I haven't taken it apart, but yeah,
Hmm.
it's a very, very slick machine. That's for sure.
Yeah, and it's not like super complicated. Well, like I first thing I do when I get things, I take them apart.
Yeah,
I don't know why.
yeah,
And the handles, that twist lock, it's a very simple mechanism in there that makes it work, but it works.
yeah,
It doesn't get loose and weird. Usually with extendable things that twist lock like that, it doesn't take very long for it to loosen itself
yeah,
off.
yeah,
But
yeah. Hand up the problems. Yeah,
mhm, yeah, these are great. Um, the other thing Richard talks about is putting using it with hot mud because you can open that tube right up, spray it all out.
yeah, yeah. Makes sense. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, that's exciting. Did you do much teaching when you were coming up in Alberta, or was it kind of like a rat race?
I've had apprentices around most of my life.
Yeah,
I've
good.
taught a number of guys how to tape, yeah, and they've stuck with me for. I've had apprentices that have been with me for a long time. All my sons know how to drywall, and
Yeah.
they've all done it at some time for a period of time. One did well enough that he's got himself all set up now and built his own marina, and he's got his
Ooh,
bar, restaurant, and you know, bike tours and all kinds of
well,
stuff
that's
over
perfect. That sounds
over in
perfect.
Colombia. And he's just loving it because he's been obsessed with fishing his entire life. First fish he ever caught when he was a little boy, he wouldn't let me cut the head off. I couldn't figure out what was going on. It took me a while to talk him into letting me gut the thing, so I finally gutted the fish. We get home, I don't hear anything from him, and when you have little boys, you don't hear them
Yeah.
making noise. Something's wrong. So I said, "What's going on?" I haven't heard anything. I go sneak. There he is in the bathtub with his stupid fish. He's he's so he's just been fish obsessed. So now that's what that's he used that to leverage himself into what he wanted to do his whole life.
You don't have to like live and breathe drywall. It's a hell of a vessel to get to where you want to be going.
Yeah, yeah,
You don't have to be a lifer, and for that matter, you don't even have to enjoy it. But if you're good at it, it is a very good way to get to where you want to be.
well, you
Um,
usually do enjoy what you're good at.
I find that it's
Yeah,
not work, right? It's
yeah,
it's you got to hustle when you got to hustle
yeah,
and stuff. But
yeah,
it's I don't wake up and go, I don't want to fucking go today ever when I'm finishing.
yeah,
I'm in.
yeah, yeah. I enjoy going to work. Like with what I do, I enjoy because we turn over so many houses. At least once a week. I'm in a house no more than a week, and I'm gone.
Yeah,
But at the end of the day, it's part of the pleasure of it is not just getting paid. It's the homeowner so thrilled with
yeah,
the result, and you've transformed somebody's ugly ceiling and transformed their home like into something else. It's just, yeah, that's the I like doing really, really good work. Really nice job. I enjoy that.
yeah. That's probably my favorite part. At least when I was working on my own, is you'd be somewhere for 1 or 2 weeks, but you get to meet someone new. You get to kind of prove to them that you're who you say you
Yeah,
are, and then at the end, they're like, "This is amazing, thank
yeah.
you," and you're like,
I've,
"No problem."
I've
It was
never
fun.
stopped. I've never stopped enjoying running around on stilts. I'm still on stilts 5 hours a day anyhow, at least 5 6 hours a day. And yeah, and I enjoy that. I'm just so at home on stilts for doing ceilings and stuff, but I have to do a lot of stretching and hanging,
Yeah,
just hanging on a bar to keep my shoulders and everything working well and everything because I'm above my head all day long.
yeah.
But
Did you ever look into those like the exoskeletons? Like Hilti's got that backpack almost, and you fit it on, and it's here and here, and then there's a little bit of a neck, like a neck brace,
racing,
and
maybe when I get old.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's I'm trying to think of who it was. Scott. It was Scott, I think, that I went to Vegas with, and he had it posted on his thing, but it just looked very comfortable.
Yeah,
I'm not.
I just saw a video recently of that. Yeah, interesting looking thing. I get that. I get it. It could be they were using it to run the Fez tool.
Yeah, that would make sense. Yeah, because
Yeah.
you're constantly looking up and
Yeah.
you're above your head.
The
Yeah, it's
fez tool can get a little heavy. It might work for that. I don't know if I'd use it for Mahogany and trowel because I like to try to stay in shape too. So
totally.
I'm not wanting something to do too much of the work for me. But for the fez tool, yeah, that can get kind of heavy when you're taking off that popcorn ceiling,
Yeah.
for a few hours in a day or whatever, how big yeah, yeah. Might be something worth looking into for that.
Yeah, those vacuums are nice. They'll do the lion's share of like especially rough sanding. You just go over everything very, very quickly.
Mhm.
But to your finished sand, same thing. It does the lion's share and then you come back. I couldn't imagine running it to be removing popcorn all day.
Yeah.
Like that would be it's just got to be constant, right?
Yeah. When it comes to finish sanding, um, I still get I still prefer a 100-watt bulb and a sponge. I
Yeah,
finish sand the entire ceiling with a sponge and a light. I don't fez tool finish sand it. I use it.
really.
Yeah, I do the whole thing by hand because you got to check the whole thing thoroughly anyhow. Because I don't want to
Yeah,
leave one pinhole behind nothing. So, and if you've troweled it out thoroughly and well enough, you're not actually sanding that much of the ceiling. Like it's
yeah, just minor imperfections and
yeah, just
yeah.
minor reflections. You got to go over the whole thing anyhow. So I still do the whole ceiling by hand with a sponge and a light.
So I go over everything very quickly. I've got the DeWalt. I don't have a Festool, and I just hit everything like a box outsides, and then do all the insides very quickly, and then I come back with that big lantern I have and a 220 sponge, and I buff it all out.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't
You
know
know,
what. Sorry, go ahead.
what I found in taping, like if you're taping a house or whatever, is is um the thoroughness. And people think, as I've got static from some of my partners until they realize no, it actually pays off. And
Yeah,
that's like going around, like all your light plugs, anywhere that you're going to come in contact with mud with a light fixture. I take the time before I even tape to take my pole sander and rough sand the fluff off every light plug, every place where mud will come in contact with a plug. I rough sand that off.
yeah,
It's worth the time to do it. It takes you 20 minutes to go through an entire house and get all that off. And you're not picking up hitchhikers every time
yeah,
you hit that thing, and that fluff, when it gets a little bit of mud in it, swells up and now it's humping, and yeah,
yeah.
just get rid of it all. So I find it's worthwhile to be thorough at every stage, and it just makes every other stage go faster and faster.
It,
Um,
that's
when
one
I
of the things that we
started out,
started. Sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
no, sorry, I don't mean. Anyhow, yeah, when I rough sand out a house, even, I'll take a sponge with me, and if there's a major ridge or
Oh
whatever, I
yeah.
just take it out with my sponge, right there. So you might not think so, but if you try it, you find out that you can do a lot of your sanding on your rough sand. There's just
Hmm.
way less to sand on your finish if your rough sand is thorough enough. So every coat should be as good as you can get it to that stage
Right.
within reason, of course. But yeah, but some people say that's unreasonable. But in the end, it's not. You're saving time. By the time you go to finish sand, it's, again, even in a subdivision house, I barely use a pole sander for end finishing. I just grab a light and the sponge, and I whip through it, and it's
Yeah, make your way around, especially on stilts, because you're right there, like it's right beside you. Like you're not up on a ladder moving a two-step or on a scaffold. Those stilts, I'm gonna reach out to a bunch of people. I gotta find something that's gonna hold my weight. Uh, because I imagine holding a bunch of mud, with whatever, even like a full box or whatever, I'm probably up over 300, probably 310, something like that. So
really, eh? Hmm.
yeah, I don't know where I'm at now. I dance around somewhere between 290 and 305, but it depends on what I'm doing.
Yeah.
If I'm in
Well,
shape, I'm around 280, but it's heavy. That's
yeah,
more than what they ask.
yeah. But no, those stilts will support you, no problem. Pretty well
Yeah,
anyway. Yeah, 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 yeah.
yeah, I'm
Yeah,
gonna look into them. I can see already just the not having to be up and down and moving scaffolds and all this other kind of shit. If you could just be on the stilts, it would just be so much faster.
oh yeah, it sure is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of, and it's way safer too.
I think so. I'm so worried about falling on the stilts. This last job, I fell off a ladder and fucked my knee up.
Oh,
And it's like,
yeah,
for what? I could have been on a
yeah.
set of stilts, being careful, and then the speed will come.
It's not
Yeah.
a it's not it doesn't seem like obvious or whatever, but over the 50 plus years I've been in construction, it's rare that I've ever seen anybody hurt from the stilts. The one guy I know got hurt, but he was drunk and went down the stairs,
Okay.
that kind of thing. But yeah, just but what I have seen is a lot of guys getting hurt off of benches.
Yeah.
Yeah, bench is way easier to slip off of, get your leg in between them, like step off the end of it.
Stepping off the end. I've done
Don't
that
fall
more
into
times than I want to say.
yeah, you can't fall off stilts. You can fall down on them, but you can't fall off them, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. You're tied in.
Yeah, and if you're going down on stilts, get rid of your tools and kinda turn as you go
Yep.
down. Yeah, and
Co-
turn your knees in and turn, and you go
Yeah.
down. It's yeah, no problem. I've only fallen a couple of times, but I didn't get hurt from it.
There's the combat role. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
So, you
um,
know, back in the day now, I think they turned it into a criminal offense, but, back in the day, we ran out on planks on ladders with our stilts. I've even stood on 5-gallon bucket on a plank, with my stilts and turned the bucket on the plank as I'm, working,
Jesus.
so you get pretty balanced at it after a few years, of working on it.
I suppose that's true. I've seen my fair share of master carpenters running around on trusses. Like,
Yeah,
it's just second nature once you get good at it.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's very exciting. I'm really excited for this event. I think it's
Yeah,
gonna be really cool.
yeah, it's gonna be a good event. It's gonna be a good event. I'm sure thrilled with what level of sponsorship we've got and the amount of
I was
prizes we
shocked.
have to give
I
away.
was
It's pretty
I
cool.
I was shocked. When Wolfgang reached out and he said he wanted to do a giveaway, I don't want to do a giveaway on my page. You just get a bunch of shitty people on your page. Now, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of good people out there, but there are
Yeah, yeah,
people out there that are just like trying to get free stuff and they're usually negative. I don't want it.
yeah.
So then we started talking about the event, and I was like, well, we're going to use a bunch of well, that's, I'm wearing this shirt. We're going to use a bunch of trim techs. Maybe I'll just reach out to them. And they were so quick to go, what do you need? What do you need?
Yeah,
We would love to get involved.
yeah.
Advanced Equipment has sent one of their nests. Corey from Tech Dry did a bunch of shirts, a couple of Tech Dries. Yeah, and I mean, Can-Am, it went from one set to two sets to they're sending banners and hats and all kinds of shit. Trim Tech sent a bunch of giveaway bags. This is, I think it's pretty cool, man. We're gonna talk to Nick about maybe getting a couple of color packs and doing that kind
Oh,
of stuff.
yeah, yeah, the fresco stuff. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna get a hat or two
Fresco,
made.
yeah, fresco's sure that's sure a cool product, eh?
Oh, I love
But,
it.
you're awesome there too, but Steve has sure been amazing at his networking and his, relationship building, and Steve's really the Martha Stewart of three-way, you know?
It's shocking how his brain works. He is like got this genius brain where you're thinking over here and he's like when we talk about shirts and stuff, he's like, we could have that outsourced and they would be like $4. And you go,
Yeah,
well, how did you get there in like a nanosecond?
yeah.
Yeah, shipping just like
Yeah, he's got a lot of experience and yeah,
oh man.
a lot of experience. He's a great guy to get along with. Yeah, no, he's a maker. He makes things happen. He
Yeah,
makes
and
things happen.
it is a very methodical, right? Everything he does is
Yeah,
thought out. He's a hell of a taper too.
yeah.
That's
He's
always
got
fun to see.
his background and his life experiences are incredible. Like
What
what he spent a lot of time in China and Taiwan and different places. Yeah, he knows people, he knows shit, he understands business. His mother's accountant.
Mhm.
He was raised, understanding numbers and yeah. And
You can tell.
he's great at his filming, his editing, his video making. Yeah, he's really well talented individual. So three
Yeah,
ways really happy to have him in place there. He was the one who wanted to bring the whole thing to market. And Steve's one of those kind of guys that was gonna end up succeeding at something.
honestly, I've said that to him. I said, whatever it was, you were going to be good at it.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
Whatever he
it,
got into, he was gonna make a success of it. So
Yeah, you can kind of tell that. We got into it the one day just talking about like you were saying when he was growing up, and you can tell that he was like educated, groomed. Like that brain of his is, I don't know if he was born with it or if they like mixed it up. But and I just, the way that he operates is so impressive. We talk just about every day on the phone, and it's about stuff. It's not like how'd your day go. It's and it's every day there's new stuff, and you're kind of like figuring out the next step, and it's all very easy. He's super easy to get along with. Yeah,
Yeah,
you picked a good partner there.
yeah. Well, he kind of picked me.
Well, we're both fortunate then.
He came from he came back to Canada from Taiwan, and it was my son who knew him.
Okay.
And my son put me in touch with him, and he wasn't sure what he wanted to do then. He started running my business for me, which was level 5 drywall at that time.
Okay.
Yeah, and he came in and started managing that, and we developed with him. We developed a software program for tracking jobs. It's one of the most amazing pieces of software out there that's still actually there, but the only thing we're short about $30 million to promote it,
Oh, is that
but
all?
but because that's what you realize it ends up taking to really
Yeah.
get something like that to take off. But it's worth. It was the program was appraised at about $350,000 value, and
Jesus.
Steve architect that with my son and another guy in Taiwan, and it you go into that program, and it gives you a GPS ping of where you log in and when you
Hmm.
log, and you can select job. You can select what you've done at that job. There's so much accounting back stuff to it for people who know about that. That's not me. I'm a worker guy,
Hmm.
and I understand that well. But yeah, it's an amazing piece of software. Um, and yeah, anyhow, that was one of the first things we developed. But there was some naivety in that, and not realizing like the intensity of your marketing. What's interesting is somebody pr- pretty much copied our software. It's not anywhere near as good as what that was.
Hmm.
Their GPS ping puts you in BC somewhere, you know, because I didn't realize how complicated that was. It's not just
Oh
tying into
yeah.
some GPS ping, but and it's running off of satellites, that are secure as a bank now and all that stuff. But they ended up, they're called Timesheet, and they ended up getting I don't know, $12 million for that program with one of the Excel programs or something like that.
Hmm.
Yeah, they have that program in there. Ours
And
was actually better. So
it's an inferior product. I like that.
yeah, quite inferior. And they kind of copied us because we started throwing out things to get names and stuff. So, and when we first started doing it, one of the programmers, who was one of the top programmers around, the guy's brilliant, software programmer. At first, he was going, "Are we just wasting our time here?" He says, "I checked out everywhere." He says, "In this program, this does not exist. We have no competition yet.
Yeah, good.
So is that just what's going on?" So we were ahead of the curve on that, but not. Yeah. Anyhow, we learned some lessons there. But that program's still actually running. There's a few companies, using it, but we haven't done anything about trying to promote it at all. Anyways, it's
Yeah, but
called
when you,
ProPoint now.
what's it called?
ProPoint.
Pro Point.
Yeah.
Well, that's about time to wrap up here. We got about 4 minutes left. Got any shout outs you want to do?
But nothing I can think of off the top of my head. Sorry.
No problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little shout out to CSR,
Yeah, for
Can-Am,
sure.
Trimtex, Tech Dry, Advanced Equipment.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really good. So
Yeah.
May 19th, we're doing a three-way event
Yeah.
at CSR, the Vaughan location.
Yeah. CSR, I appreciate those guys a lot. They're awesome.
You know,
And Brad,
I
he's so brilliant, Brad. I don't even know how he's pulled off what he's pulled off in his life. He was amazing. He was, you know, a number of years ago when I was doing a big fancy custom home, Brad was one of the delivery guys on the truck delivering the drywall.
Yeah.
And now he's one of the major players. He's got the biggest, tool supplier guy in the country. Yeah, it was.
I
Yeah, he's
mean,
got an amazing mind or something. That guy.
I think that's how he's done it. He's earned his way all the way from the bottom. All the relationships that he has, he's
Oh,
earned. He doesn't fuck people over. He's a
yeah,
kind
no,
person. He's very humble.
yeah. He's just a super guy. They all are down there. They all are. They're all.
Mhm. Oh yeah, I've never
All
come across anyone at CSR that I thought anything other than this is great.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
run an amazing company, and I've talked to some of the other suppliers stuff, and they're all trying to figure out how to mimic CSR these days. So,
Oh yeah. But you can't, right? You can't do that.
no, no,
And in some cases, CSR is more expensive. So, right? Like if it's a point or two here and there, so what? You're paying for CSR. You're not paying for drywall.
yeah,
It's a community. They're there for you. You
yeah,
know,
yeah,
if you're in a
yeah,
pinch, they're going to help you. It's
yeah,
they're real
yeah,
people as opposed to a big company. Yeah.
yeah. No, I'm really grateful for CSR and their involvement with us. They're awesome.
Yeah. Okay, man. Well, it was an absolute pleasure having you on here. Sorry, it was
Yeah,
a little bit of a rush this morning, but I'm happy that we got to do it.
yeah. Great talking to you today.
Yeah, so I'll see you on
Friday.
Friday. I hope to see everybody else there. I'm going to release this on Sunday. So I'll make a
Yeah,
bunch of clips throughout the week and yeah, it'll be good, man.
awesome.
All right, everyone. Be
Okay,
humble. Treat
okay,
everyone
Sean.
the same and do
All
your
right.
fucking job.